Well, hey there, guys. I'm Axel the Beast, and this is the Curiosity Shop, ZeldaDungeon.net video mailbag where I answer your Zelda questions. A special thing for this week, it's going to be an entirely Majora's Mask themed mailbag in honor of Majora's Mask Month, which we've just started on ZeldaDungeon.net. So yeah. First question is from Gurveer Dua. What is your favorite mask in The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask? This is an odd question for me to answer, and I admit I may have been asked it in the past, but since it's this special mailbag, I don't mind repeating it for once. And the thing is that every time I answer this, I swear I must be giving a completely different answer, because I can't quite pick. If the transformation masks count, obviously I have to pick one of them. I'd probably say the Zora mask, because I just felt it was better designed than the other main transformation masks, and I look at Fierce Data as more of sort of a, a special little thing for the bosses. I don't exactly regard it as a normal transformation mask. And among the other littler masks, I didn't feel a lot of them were necessarily that great. I think they all should have had more distinct powers, like the bunny hood did. And that makes me more inclined to pick the bunny hood, but I think I'd have to pick one of the cooler looking, well, to me, masks, like the Icona stuff, like the Captain's Hat or the Garo mask. Those were probably my favorites. Again, next time I answer this, it could be a completely different answer. But I'd like to know what your guys' favorite masks are. Pablo asks, would you like another Zelda game to have a time cycle like Majora's Mask? I actually liked the time cycle. I didn't have any problems with it like some people did. I thought it was a great addition to the game. I thought it was a unique, brand new thing. I think it added a lot of the game's... It gave the game a lot of its own identity, and I think there was no problems with it whatsoever, but I don't think necessarily just because it was good means they have to throw it in another game. I mean, just because it worked one time doesn't mean it's going to work another time, or doesn't mean that it's necessarily to keep reusing the same thing. I mean, it doesn't strike me as despite how good I think it doesn't strike me as a system that necessarily fits Zelda all the time. I'd have to say, to decide for sure, I'd have to know more about the game to see if it fits that game. If it does, sure, why not? I don't think they should make a game entirely around it necessarily. I don't think it's that special, and I know a lot of people don't like it, but, that's not a lot to say there, actually. Zerk45 asks, I was playing Majora's Mask, beat it today, and noticed at the Stone Tower Temple when you flip it upside down, the stones you have to jump across to the temple have Triforces on them. Do you think that the Triforce has something to do with Termina's history? Majora's Mask is a game with a lot of mystery in it, and among that mystery is a lot surrounding Stone Tower and Majora. And the thing is that this is a commonly brought up thing about Stone Tower theory. I'm actually a little bit of a buff on Majora's Mask theorization, at least a little. And the thing is that a lot of people, I've read a whole article about how it was probably the Triforce appears probably because Stone Tower was intended to blaspheme the goddesses or be sacrilegious. It was it worshipped some kind of non-normal religion entity. Some people think it was the giants. I think it was Majora. And there's imagery in the temple that was sacrilegious, like that this instance of the Triforce appearing, it's actually located at the tip of the tongue of this little creature, and it looks kind of weird. And there's other imagery that seems almost obscene, and I don't think Nintendo would have intentionally put obscene imagery or semi-obscene imagery in the game. There's just no way that they would have done that, so I don't think that's intentional. I do think that Stone Tower is like a demonic shrine or church to Majora, who I believe to be a demon or a dark god of some kind. The instance of the Triforce could be, as for sacrilegious reasons, it could be because, Icona could be the Termina parallel to the Hylian royal family who were the keepers of the legend of the Triforce. So perhaps Majora, with his evil wind or whatever from Stone Tower, destroyed them because he didn't want people worshipping the goddesses. That's just one of many possible explanations, and it's something that doesn't really have an answer. But it's endless fun to theorize on this. This is something I really get into, and I've written fan fictions, have fan game ideas based on it. It's just an interesting subject. I recommend doing some searches on it because there's a lot of interesting theory. It's worth looking into. Brandon asks, do you think they will ever make a sequel to Majora's Mask? Majora's Mask is my favorite game in the series, and I think it's great. I think in a lot of ways it's polished itself better than most other games in the series have. I think it's almost a complete experience without any necessary change. But I do think that as it was, even though it left so much open and it was such a mystery, I think that's what really made the game. It was supposed to be mysterious. I think if there was a sequel or a follow-up, it kind of ruins that. Kind of like how I think if you brought Midna back in another game, it would ruin her story in Twilight Princess. So my answer is no. I don't actually think there should be a sequel to Majora's Mask. I would love it, frankly, if there was. I would actually go crazy. But I think overall it's better for the game if it doesn't have one. And it's brilliant as it is. It doesn't need to be added on to. Kat asks, do you think they will make a Majora's Mask 3DS game? Why or why not? And I've actually received this question from a few people. Another person named Noah went on to ask, if you would, what would you like Nintendo to change about it, and why? Thing is, with the remake of Ocarina of Time 3DS, I don't think it's entirely necessary, and I don't think it's going to be something that's going to be like a trend. I don't think they're going to start remaking all the Zelda games. I don't think they could, that'd be interesting, but I don't think it's necessary, and I kind of generally like to see new additions to the series, not like dwelling on the past. But, I mean, I don't mind it if they remade the game. I mean, I love Majora's Mask. Additions could involve some clarification of certain things that were unclear, although I'd like the mystery to stay intact, but I wouldn't mind new content or whatever. I mean, there's additions they can make without messing with the main game, and I would just enjoy that, frankly. But other than that, I don't think there's necessarily reason to remake it, and I don't really care if they do. I like my Majora's Mask on the N64. I don't really need it changed at all. I'd buy it. I'd probably love it. I'd like all the changes, probably, if they made it. Just like I will with Ocarina of Time 3DS. But that's it. Lucario99 asks, when people think that Link is searching for his friend that he parted ways with in Majora's Mask, they usually think it is Navi. I think it is Navi as well, but I also think it might have been the Skull Kid. Do you think so? I actually, upon playing the game, I didn't think it was Navi at all. And I did think it was the Skull Kid. I thought that was, totally what they intended. However, I think that Majora's Mask was definitely a game where friendship was a core theme. It's constantly referenced throughout the entire game. It's in the main plot. Those weird cryptic quotes from the children on the moon even talk about it. And I believe that at the end of Majora's Mask, Navi did leave Link. And well, the manga referenced that he was looking for Navi too. And the manga isn't canonical, of course. We've gone over this a billion times, and I've had to argue with people on this subject before. But it's they even implied it in the game. I really do think he was looking for Navi because he was looking for a friend he lost. Now, I do believe it is the same Skull Kid that was in Ocarina of Time, the one that you gave the Skull Mask to. But, I don't know, I don't feel Skull Kid was the character that he was supposed to look for, but I think he was a character he found along the way. It was a game about friendship, and that was a core theme that they repeated, and that's what the game ended up with. That was how they ended off the game, the theme of friendship. That's how I see it. But I believe Navi was definitely the friend he was specifically looking for. John asks, do you believe that the Twilight Realm and Termina are one and the same? Because in Twilight Princess, Midna puts on the Ordon shield like a mask, possibly suggesting that she thinks masks are necessary in battle. Well, first of all, I do not think that her putting on the shield as a mask has any plot relevance whatsoever. She was just messing around. I don't think they're one and the same at all. I don't think there's a lot of reason to think so. I mean, there's nothing similar about them. I mean, the Fuse Shadow and Majora can be a little similar at times. That's the only piece of theorization I think even works there. I mean, there's nothing alike about them, even if you just look at them. Termina is a land that resembles Hyrule. It has the same places, and it looks a lot like it, landscape-wise. Or, in terms of the ecosystem. Whereas the Twilight Realm's this creepy, floaty cloud place with no light. I mean, I don't see how you can look at the two and think, oh, those must be the same place. I mean, and I don't mean to be mean, but I don't see any correlation whatsoever. Ben asks, do you think the Mask Salesman from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask is a Hylian, or is he some other race not specified? Is he even human like the other characters in the games? Well, Hylian is a race of human. I don't know if you mean Hylian as in the pointy-eared people, at which point, yeah, he pretty much is. or if you mean Hylian as in a person from Hyrule. If so, I do believe he's from Hyrule. That is the same Happy Mask Salesman from Ocarina of Time. I'm dead certain of it. He's... All the other parallels, really, at least that I can think of right off the top of my head, were, they had different names, and they had slightly different stand-ins or things they did in the world. This was the Happy Mask Salesman in both games, and he did the same thing in both games. So, it has to be him. And he was a wandering salesman, and he talked about following Link since he was in the forest, where he was in Hyrule. So, I think it's settled pretty much. And he went after Majora's Mask, sealed in darkness. And he knew about Majora's Mask, so it's not like he doesn't know about all these mystic, weird stuff. I mean, it's not like it's impossible for him. X-Tearzox asks, which is your favorite Zelda game, and what do you think it had that other games are missing? I've already answered this before. Majora's Mask is my favorite Zelda game. I'm mostly answering this question because of what I think it's done that other games have not. Obviously, it had the focus on side quests and NPCs. Now, I think this is an element where it focused on it. It completely did that. It, in some ways, shoved the main story off to the side a bit. But I feel it's an element that the other games could emulate and actually do a little bit. Without having to go completely about side quests. And I think that it also had this sense of mystery and just an odd nature to it that other games can emulate. It had a more unique and all its own feeling to it. I also feel it was a little more polished, as I've said, but I know plenty disagree. Alright, that's it for this time. Two things real quick. First of all, since we're doing this Majora's Mask month thing, I'd like you to send me specifically Majora's Mask questions, and I'd like to focus on them for the next couple of mailbags. Also, just a brief shameless plug. I have my own personal channel on YouTube now, and I just briefly wanted to point people out to it if they're interested. I don't talk about Zelda, really. I talk about other stuff, like gaming stuff. Link in the, the news post or the description or whatever. That's all I gotta say. Be sure to send your questions, Majora's Mask ones, to the email address in the description, and later.